Welcome everybody to the, what is this, the second quarter EJCP meeting? I haven't been in a while, but I want to come down and just make sure I keep up to date what's going on. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Derek Alatorre. I'm the Deputy Executive Officer for Legislative and Public Affairs. We'll go on to a second item. Or do we go around the table to ask if they have any remarks, or is that
No, just go.
Okay. Let's go to number 2, approval of the April 17, 2019 meeting minutes. Is there a motion or any questions about it? And or can someone put a motion down?
We have shy people. Anybody read the minutes? Want to make a motion to approve?
Did we just get them?
I move to approve.
Ada, thank you very
I
much.
don't remember. Did we get them earlier?
They were emailed.
Okay. A long time ago, I guess. I mean, like after the last meeting, I don't remember.
Okay, we got a move by Ada. Is there a second?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I
you
don't
weren't
want to
at
make a
the
motion.
Approve.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. Jessica seconded it. Is there any opposition to the minutes being approved? Seeing none, we'll move forward. So review of follow-up and slash action items. Who's going to handle that? Because I don't
Yeah,
have
Lisa,
those.
do you have any ideas?
I actually have the follow-up action items, so I'll go through that. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
So the
she
first-
is.
Now Fabian number 2 is turning over to Fabian number 1.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My apologies. I have some excitement going on in my life right now. And not fun excitement, but it's kind of exciting. My car was broken into a week and a half ago. And the thieves have been busy. So today, maybe about an hour and a half ago, I get a confirmation for a room that I've rented downtown in LA at a hotel.
How you liking it?
Yeah, using a credit card. So I sent it over to the detectives who work in this case for me, and they're going to stake the place out. So that my phone is sitting here, they're gonna call me, you know, when they go in the room and FaceTime me to see if some of the stuff is my stuff. I just want them to catch these guys, because every day when I check my email, they've done something else every day, whether it's Starbucks or food or sweatsuit or a scooter. They ordered a scooter. And PayPal is saying, well, Mrs. Weston, that's consistent to what you order. So, you know, we're not going to say that's an unauthorized charge. I have a problem with that. So we're going up to the next level. We'll be okay.
Will you take that call if it comes in during the meeting and give us an update?
Oh, I'll put it on speakerphone.
No, Derek, come back up here out there. Once you take the call.
So did we get started?
So we were just about to start action items.
Oh,
So here's the
great,
list.
great. How's everyone? Did we do introductions yet?
We did not.
No?
No.
Okay, we've got some new faces sitting around here, don't we?
Yes, we do actually.
Yeah, why don't we do introductions? I'm Fabian Wesson, late, my apologies. I'm the Assistant Deputy Executive Director for Legislative, Public Affairs, and Media. I think there's Public Advisor in there somewhere. I had to learn what my title was, it was so long. But welcome, everybody. New faces, welcome. Glad to see you. Welcome. Let's start with you with introductions.
Yeah, so my name is Jessica Tovar. I'm the project director for the Moving Forward Network based out of the Urban and Environmental Policy Institute at Occidental College. Long titles.
Yeah, there you go.
Good afternoon, my name is Paula Andrea Torrado Plazas, and I'm with Physicians for Social Responsibility LA, and I'm the Air and Toxics Policy Analyst there.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Zaragoza. I'm a senior policy advocate with the Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, and I'm based in the Eastern Coachella Valley.
I'm Rachel Pennington. I'm a project coordinator at the Energy Coalition, supporting the Southern California Regional Energy Network public agency programs, and I'm based in Irvine.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hart. I'm with the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance in Los Angeles.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here. My name is Erica Flores. I'm the organizing director with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice out in River Valley, Riverside, San Bernardino County.
All right, with information management production.
My name is Presenter. Just kidding. My name is Brian Roche with Information Management here at the South Coast AQMD.
My name's Alicia James. I'm with Lee Andrews Group. We are consultants for the Environmental Justice Program.
My name is Oscar Rodriguez. I'm with Opio Comunidad. It's a local organization in Huntington Beach that focuses on environmental justice. And I'm also a delegate to the California State Party for the Democratic Party.
So how was this weekend?
Yeah.
We had a pretty busy and exciting weekend. Yeah,
It was amazing.
it was good. Yeah.
Who was the best speaker?
14 presidential candidates
Whoa.
Wow.
were there. Who would you say was the best one?
Booker.
I think Booker too.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
think?
I mean, it just depends. It just depends. They were mostly they were all good. Some of them got booed right there because
They sure did.
for a lengthy period of
2 or
time.
3.
But yeah, Booker was good. But I also, I'll reserve judgment, right? Because that was personal for me. But I thought they all did a good job.
Booker for me.
Okay, so
Anyway, Ada Briseño with Unite Here Local 11.
I'm Eddie Marquez. I'm with the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Rodriguez. I'm with South Coast AQMD and I work on environmental justice.
And I'm Nancy Feldman with Council's office here.
all right. Alicia said something really important when she said South Coast AQMD. I don't know that I've talked with this group. I think I've talked with the other groups. We are now rebranding. We're not AQMD. We're not SCAQMD. We are now South Coast AQMD. So please, in any of your writings, correspondence, talking, South Coast AQMD. That way we're known by one name and hopefully we'll get known. Okay? All right. Well, listen, let's move right along to the action items. We had a few. Action item number 1 was South Coast will present on data and impacts of the CARE program, which is the Clean Air Ranger Education Program, at the next advisory council meeting in June. Alicia will be presenting on that today. Second item was South Coast AQMD to follow up with Jan Victor. He was going to be late, I think I saw a note.
He's gonna call in.
Oh, okay. About partnering with East Yard Communities for environmental justice for a community toxic tour for next year. South Coast AQMD will request compliance and enforcement staff to present on policies and rules for incinerators. Did we contact?
We did contact compliance and enforcement. They are actually conducting the training at LA Sanitation today. So they said that they could present next time on that issue.
And we're actually supporting their fundraiser this evening. Alicia and our environmental justice manager, Denise Scaly, will be attending that. So we try, if you got events like that, we try to support when we can, when the budget allows, and we all know about budgets. So please let us know about that information. Send it to Alicia and we'll see what we can do, okay? Item number 3, South Coast AQMD to follow up with Jessica Tovar about the concerns of the communities impacted by AB 617. We got a meeting with her following this meeting today, so that will be taken care of. Item number 4, South Coast AQMD to follow up with Paula Andrea Torrada Plazas. Ooh, I probably messed that up, excuse me. Regarding community concerns on the Inglewood oil fields. Staff are working to coordinate a date to meet with Paula. And also our GEO rep in that area has now been attending the meetings over at the Inglewood oil fields. So if you guys would, we can bring some information back from what he's been gathering at those meetings. Okay, his name is Denny Shaw, and he's been quite attentive to that. Okay, great. All right, any questions or comments? Did we introduce Olga? Okay, and I'm not even gonna try with the last name. Olga is our new media manager. Olga, I'm gonna tell where she came from because I got it wrong once. But we are so pleased to have her. We are now fully staffed with the communications, director of communications, a media manager. Support staff will be coming on board for them soon. So we'll be rocking, huh, Olga?
Yes, I'm really excited to be here. I've worked in news for about 20 years. And so I can kind of bring a different perspective to things. And
where you work at?
Yes, I worked at, most recently at Fox 11 here in LA, and then I was at KTLA, I worked as a news anchor, a news reporter, and a weather forecaster. So I'm really interested in air quality and the environment. So I think this is a great place to be. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great, great. Okay, an approval of the April 17th
That
minutes. Oh, good. Yay, thank you. That's why I love her being here. Let's see, then we'll go on to our discussion items 4 through 6, facility information detail. Brian will give us a presentation on our find feature. Thank you,
Okay.
Brian.
All right, thank you, Fabian. It's great to be here. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Roche. I am a systems and programming supervisor here at the South Coast AQMD, working in the information management department. I report to Ron Moskowitz, our chief information officer, who unfortunately cannot be here today, but he still gets to have his name on the slide. So I was asked to come here to show off our find system and a few other associated tools that we have on our website. And before I start though, I was just curious if anybody here has used Find before, or if you're familiar with it. No, not too many? Okay, I don't know if that's good or bad. So by the end of the day, you guys will all be experts and you can give me a lot of feedback. So to give you some background on Find stands for Facility Information Detail. It's a web tool that we built to allow users to search for facilities, all the regulated facilities that we have here in our district. So I've been going around giving a lot of presentations lately because recently we just updated the system. It's several years old, but we just rolled out a new version in February. And the new version now is mobile friendly. It works on, on a web browser, but it also works on your phone or your tablet. And we added a few new features. We added a mapping feature. We added a little more data. And most importantly, we sort of set we redesigned the architecture to set the foundation for making future enhancements. So let me get into that a little bit. So like I mentioned, Find allows you to do a location-based search for facilities. You can search by the facility name, or you can search by the location, which would be street name, city, zip code, that kind of thing. If you also happen to know your facility ID, so every facility is given a unique identification number. If you happen to know that FAC ID, you can put that in directly. The same with application numbers. Every facility, when they file to get a permit, they have to file an application, so you can put in that application number. Likewise with NOVs and NCs, which is notices of violation and notices to comply, hearing board cases, and we also have a map feature, which I'm going to show you at the end, which is, we're really proud of that, and that's also kind of a work in progress. So, the kind of information that Find provides is some basic facility details, like I said, name, address, industry code, things like that. We show an equipment list, so all of the permitted equipment at that facility will be shown on Find. We show NOVs and NCs. We show AER emissions, and I'll get into the details of that when I show you the live demo on exactly what that means. We show hearing board cases, transportation plans, and also we have a new document section, which is one of the new things we recently added. So I'm going to go ahead, and we can save questions till the end after I show this. There's always a lot of questions. People want to know, a few things about what's going on, so let's save that till the end. So if you go to our webpage, www.aqmd.gov, you can find by clicking up here on Find. We have a few pages for information, help, how to use it. But when you click through and go here, you get this very simple but very functional page, which does a lot of things. So, like I mentioned before, you can search for facilities by location or by name. So that's what comes up here. If you know the name of a facility, you can type it in. Somebody's already been using this. If you know the street name, city name, or zip code, you can type in all of those things and it'll bring up the search results. Pretty standard search form. And like I also mentioned earlier, if you know the facility ID, click here. You can just type in your facility ID and go straight to the information for that facility. Likewise with application numbers, NOVs, NCs, and hearing board cases. So to jump right in, let's do a search. Something random I've never practiced before. Let's see.
Put an ASCON, ASCON.
For
your facility name.
ASCON.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. So we search for a name of a facility, ASCON, and there's only one result that comes back. And what you're seeing here on the right side is a list of the results that we search for. On the left side is a map showing the location of that facility. The nice part about this page, you'll notice it's a lot different from the previous page. So there's a lot more features here. If you wanted to refine your search, you could type in additional search criteria at the top. You can click this box to remove it. You can sort by different fields here. And then you can also export those results to Excel. So depending on what you search for, you may get hundreds of results, or you may just get one result, depending on what you're searching for. And so the way this would work is you click on the facility ID. Again, notice I hovered over this and it brings it up on the map. I'm going to click on here, and like I mentioned, it's going to show some basic facility information, the name and the address and the industry code, refuse systems. And then what we have here is what we call sort of accordion tools. So if you click on each one of these, it will expand and show additional information. So
Probably not a lot there.
I know nothing about this facility, but we're in luck. It does have equipment. So this is an equipment list. Some facilities, if I search for a refinery, which I can do if you want to look at that later, it may have hundreds of pieces of equipment. In this case, there's 2. We can export this list to Excel. You can sort all sorts of things. And the application number that I mentioned earlier, this is the application number here. So if we click on this, it will bring up the details for that application. It's been canceled. It's old, from 1988. So I shouldn't.
Why don't you do excise?
Okay. You know what? Why don't I go through all the features first, and then we can start searching for specific facilities.
Yeah, I have a problem.
I know
Following
you.
direction, my kids tell me that all the time.
There's no directions here. I'm just yeah. So let's look at compliance. There's nothing in here. So let me show emissions.
That's why I said I think they're a bad one.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't I'll show one of the other features. So remember when I said you can type in a facility ID directly if you know it? So I'm going to type one in here, let's see, which I know has data. I'm not picking on anybody, Excite or Frito-Lay or anybody, but this is Frito-Lay out in Rancho Cucamonga. I picked them because they have a lot of data, so it's really good to show off. Equipment list, so again, here's 187 results. So in this case, it would be useful to export this to Excel if you want to do some analysis or you want to do some sorting of the data, save it for later. Compliance. This facility has a number of NOVs. So again, if you click on one.
So NOVs are notice of violations.
An NOV is a notice of violation, and an NC is a notice to comply. So, maybe I'm just the IT guy, but somebody can explain that better. We have inspectors who go out and inspect facilities, and they can issue these NOVs and NCs as they see fit. So
that was great, Brian.
that's my stock answer whenever anybody asks me a hard question. I'm just the IT guy. Okay, so, and then there's NCs at the bottom. These are similar. And I'm going to show you a really cool feature on that in a minute. Emissions, we have here at the South Coast AQMD, we have an AER program. It means annual emissions reporting. So certain facilities that are above a specific threshold of emissions per year have to submit a report every year to describe their emissions in detail. It breaks down by criteria pollutants and toxic pollutants. So not every facility will have this. However, this one does. So if you go in here, they are reporting criteria pollutants in tons per year. And you can see that detail here, 3 tons, 0.05 tons. And then down here, toxic pollutants in pounds per year. And so this is just the data that they've reported. And that's by year. So we have data going back to the year 2000 is when we implemented that program, I believe. The next one is hearing board cases. It's just a list of case numbers. There's not much detail on here. But again, you can export to Excel. transportation plans. If you're not familiar with transportation, we also have a program under Rule 2202, which requires certain employers who have above 250 employees, I believe, to file a plan with us every year describing how they're encouraging ride sharing, or encouraging carpooling, encouraging electric vehicle use, that kind of thing. So they can actually just do a survey of their employees and try to find out what their employees are doing and encourage them to do more ride sharing, or they can pay money, which goes into a fund, which is used for incentives to buy clean equipment, that kind of thing. Again, I'm not the expert on that, but that's as far as my knowledge goes on that. And then we also have a documents section. So I know none of you have used the old find, but this is brand new from the old find. We at the South Coast AQMD are making an effort to digitize our paper forms as much as possible. So for example, one thing we do is we have a new system in which facilities can file for permits online, and it's all done electronically rather than filling out a lot of paperwork. We're also taking paperwork that we already have and we're scanning it and putting it into a database so that we have all of that available online. That's a work in progress. Obviously, there's a lot of paperwork involved, but we're doing that. And we have those documents categorized, so you can see the categories here. I'll click on compliance, and it takes a few seconds to load, but once it comes up, you'll see sort of a list here of different documents, and if you click this one, it will bring up that actual notice of violation. So remember I clicked compliance, so I saw a list of compliance documents, and now you can actually see the real NOV here. Okay, in a new tab. So that's find in a nutshell. Remember that black screen that I showed you originally? That's sort of the initial page, but most of the time if you're using this app or this web page, you'll be in here because this is a lot more robust, has a lot more features here. So again, one of the things that people have been asking me is, this is great, I like it, but I want more. How do I search for specific types of facilities? How do I search for applications or NOVs or that kind of thing? We don't have that available right now. I'm answering the question in advance because every single time people ask me that question. So that's something that we're working on in the future. So I mentioned earlier we kind of set the architecture, the groundwork for future enhancements. So that's there. It's just a matter of getting the work done. So are there any questions about that?
I have one, Brian.
Yes.
Are any of the other districts going electronic with permitting and things like that? They are.
I believe that is an effort that a lot of districts are making. I'm not familiar with any of their specific efforts, but
The Bay Area has provided a lot of assistance to us with the permitting program.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this, I know that California in general has a Cal Enviro screen, the new one. Is this kind of correlated with that, or is there something we could use for our region, or is it just based on the whole state?
I'm not too familiar with that. I've heard of it. I know it's a database for toxics. Is that right?
Just in general,
Okay.
lower air qualities. It helped us for our case in Huntington Beach.
Sure.
To kind of zoom in into our community and see that the map was red, outlining that there was a possibility of.
It's not connected.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not connected.
Those two things aren't connected. We do have a different map, which I can show you later, which does show a MATES 5 study, which I believe that's similar, but I'm not sure on that. Okay. Yeah. So this FIND database, we have what's called a sort of an enterprise transactional database. So all of the facility data that we receive goes into that database. So when we receive new facilities, they go into that database. When they file for new permits, it goes into that database. All of the NOVs and NCs go into that same database, and this system queries from that database. So it's meant to show data for facilities. But like Fabian mentioned, it's not really connected to anything
AQI
else.
is something totally different.
Yeah.
So say for example, you're wanting to find the emissions of a specific facility, but that facility hasn't submitted for a long time. So is there a way of finding that through FIND, or what process would you take?
Yeah, so for example, I mean, let's look at our friend here, Frito-Lay. They, if they're still an active facility and they're required to submit their annual emission reports, then they will be in here. So we update that automatically every year. Those annual emission reports, they begin reporting on January 1st of every year, and it lasts about 3.5 months. I think they have 75 days to report, so that goes through about March. So sometime after March or April, the current year will appear. So let me see if I made a liar out of myself. So 2018. So we're in 2019 right now. So in the first 3 months of 2019, they reported for 2018. So you can see this 2018 data here. Next January in 2020, they will report their emissions for this year, for 2019. So next March or April, it will automatically show here for 2019 emissions.
Okay. And so what about equipment that that maybe in the past didn't have a permit, and we're trying to find the specific emissions related to that, but because it didn't have a permit, where will we find that specific data?
So we do have if you look under the equipment list, we have a list of the currently permitted equipment plus applications that have been filed but aren't really complete yet. If they were operating that equipment without a permit, that doesn't necessarily show here. We don't tie the specific equipment to an emission. Again, my stock answer, I'm just the ST guy, but that's in general what I know about this by working with this data. So if you look at the actual equipment, it will show some details on that application. This was received in 2018. That's the status. It was completed in 2018. You know, something happened to this one. We do have the engineer's phone number who worked on it, so if you want to call that guy, you can talk to him. Let me find maybe something that's more relevant. Yeah, so this is just an it's an active facility. It's a new construction type of application for a scrubber. So we have some basic information like that. So one of the reasons we built this system several years ago was to sort of take away the work from our public records department. We have a public records department here where you can pay a fee and ask for all kinds of information. And we found that by building this, we actually took away a lot of their work, and we helped the public quite a bit because they could just go on here and search for the things they needed and find that information right away without going through the process of filing a request and paying a fee and getting that kind of thing. But if there is a lot more detailed information that you need, you can always go through our public records department. Pretty much all of our data, as far as I know, is available to the public. It's just that if it requires a lot of effort to retrieve it, there is a small fee. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but for the most part, we do have that all available. Unless there are certain cases where there's corporate secrets or something like that where it may not be available.
Is there any way to search for like agriculture? I'm not sure if that counts as facilities, but.
Yeah, so again, this is one of the questions we're getting, and we are planning on adding some features like that in the future. In fact, I'm going to show you a map where we're going to be working on that. So right now you can just search for facilities in general based on a location or a name. But people are asking the same question. I want to find a specific type of facility, and so that's something that we are working on and we are planning to do. Because we do have that information. Every facility is tagged with a code. I can show you that. For example, let's see, Frito-Lay is a potato chips and similar snacks. SIC is standard industry code, I believe. So that it's always something general like that. So we do have the ability to search by those codes that are tagged to each facility, but it's just that functionality isn't in here yet. Hopefully one day it will be.
What constitutes a facility?
That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. So a facility is basically any business or entity that interacts with the South Coast AQMD for whatever reason. If they're receiving a permit, obviously they're a facility. There are other businesses though that may not have permits, but they are still considered a facility. So for example, We track under rule, I believe it's 1415 asbestos. I could be wrong on that. So we track like demolitions. If they're going to be doing a demolition and there's asbestos involved, they have to notify us and they have to pay a fee, and we may send inspectors out. So that's a facility, but it's not necessarily a permitted facility with equipment. Makes sense?
And would you capture that there, Brian?
I'm sorry?
Would you capture an asbestos removal?
We don't have that available for the public to view, but we do capture that data. We have an electronic system where these contractors who are doing that work can file an electronic report with us. I believe it's called a notification. They let us know that they're going to be doing this so that we can send an inspector out if necessary. And
But that wouldn't be here, right?
It's not here, no.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I wanted to ask if you mentioned the thresholds and like the limits.
Mhm.
Is there a way to, if you wanted to do an analysis of emissions reports and wanted to see if there is anything that's above the thresholds, is there a way to do that? Or like, is there a list where it says here the thresholds for the different criteria pollutants and for the toxic pollutants?
Yeah, the best you can do is you can go into the actual AER report for this facility, and for every year you can see the pollutants that they reported. Now, the thresholds I mentioned are the requirement for them to actually report. So I believe it's over 4 tons per year of criteria pollutants. If that's their emission, then they have to file this report once a year.
It's going to be very difficult for you to figure out whether they're exceeding any rule limits based on the information you can get here. Because that's just going to give you total emissions from the facility, business entity that's the source of the emissions. The rules pertain to each individual type of equipment, and so you'd have to relate it back. There's no way to do that with the annual emissions report, but if you look at the notices of violation, they could give you a clue as to whether they've been cited for violating emission standards.
Can you export these to Excel, or if there's like 20 years of data for a given facility, can you export all of that emissions data?
Not yet, but soon. Pretty much everything else you can export to Excel, except for the emissions. We're going to add that soon because you're not the first person to ask that. A lot of people want to bring that up very quickly and be able to view those emissions. Our goal here was to kind of make this presentable online. It's also, like I mentioned earlier, it's mobile friendly, so you can bring it up on your phone and it looks just as good on your phone as it does on the web browser. So our goal here was kind of to present this in a user-friendly way online. But yeah, in the future, we're realizing that people want to really download aggregate data and sort of look at it in a more detailed way. So that's on our list. It's on our to-do list. I want to really quick show you one more feature, like I mentioned before. If you go under online services and select GIS Open Data and Data Portal, and then select Facilities. We actually have a facility map, and people are finding this feature to be a lot more useful than the other find search. And what we're seeing right here is a visual display of every facility in our basin. Each one of these blue dots represents a number of facilities, but if you zoom in to any neighborhood, they start to get a little more granular here. So you can click on one. This represents 3 facilities. And if you scroll through these, there's a link here. So I'm looking at facility 91093. If you click on the link, it goes straight back to find to their detail page. So this is sort of it's also a location-based search, but it's on a map. So you can kind of scroll around the map, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. There's a search feature here which is a little more robust. So I could type in something like this. It's going to zoom straight to this high school, and you're going to see facilities represented as dots around there. We also have, there's a few really neat features on this map. So if I type the same thing, what I'm gonna see here now is that location pinned with a circle showing a 1,000-foot radius, because we have this little slider bar here. I can always zoom this out. And now I'm looking at within 2,985 feet. I can see the facilities within that radius. This is really useful if you want to see, what's close by your school, your home, whatever. Because I'm finding that a lot of people, when they use this system, they want to know, like I said, what's close to home or what's close to your school. And so if you go on the map, you can really see that in a much better way. So some of these questions that you guys are asking about, I want to see an agricultural facility, or I want to see a refinery or whatever. One of the things we're planning on doing is adding that feature to the map. So instead of just seeing thousands of blue dots, you can actually filter it by types of facilities, that kind of thing. So this is a little bit of a work in progress, but it's live on our website, so you can see it there.
Brian, all of the notices, like the NOVs that are provided and the NCs that are provided, all that has been provided by the facility themselves to you all?
So the process is they would file an application with us to get a permit, and that comes into us, and then we put it in our database.
The notices of violation come from our compliance division.
Yes.
The facilities don't provide us with anything but the annual emission reports that would be posted on Find. So the NOVs are directly from the inspectors entering in.
And the inspector, is that a third party or is that directly through you?
No, that's us.
That's us.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's our enforcement division.
Right.
Yeah.
So they would issue an NOV or an NC, and then they would come back to the office and type it into the computer, and it goes into the database. And then we have it available within a few hours.
And that, you said it goes all the way back to 2000 or what year?
The NOVs go back to many years.
What's many years?
I know the AER editions go back to the year 2000, but any other NOV or permit, they can go back to the 1990s. I've never looked at the oldest one, but you'll see some of them here. Let's see, permit, let's go by application date. And I can sort it this way. So look, here's one from 1976. Wow.
But that's a
Almost as old
permit.
as me.
Notices of violation might be different.
Notices of violation, maybe, I'm not sure exactly how far back those go, but the permitting data we have going back quite a bit.
We'll find that information out for you, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And in terms of the compound that the facility is emitting into the air, is that self-reported, or is that how is that calculated?
The annual emission reports, yeah, that's self-reported.
So they could literally say we're not emitting as much as we're really emitting.
They could, but we check, Yeah. It's trust and verify. But yeah, we can't go out to every facility and start, quantifying and calculating the emissions. So it's sort of like your tax return.
Okay.
They file it with us. Every now and again, we will go out, audit a facility, and see if they're emitting exactly what they're reporting.
Okay. Is everyone familiar with the GIS system, Brian? When you explained that, I don't think they quite understood what that was.
Sure, so GIS stands for Geographical Information System. It's kind of a fancy way of talking about maps. Maps with data underneath, so that when you're looking at a map, the map has data, and you can, do filtering and searching and that kind of thing.
So can you layer different data
Yes.
on top of it, like population?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's already embedded within that? Or it has to
On
be-
this one, it's not, but it's possible. So there's a lot of different maps and tools out there that have multiple layers of data.
Yeah, a lot of it's derived through Excel too, right? You could, like if you have your own GIS system, you can just place data on top of each other. But it is complicated. It's not easy.
And I don't want to take up too much more time, Fabian.
Okay.
I know you have a busy.
Sure. If there's any other questions, we'll direct them to you and get them back to the group.
But I just wanted to point out everybody's attention to our mobile app, which we're very proud of. It's an award-winning app. If you go to aqmd.gov/mobile app, have any of you downloaded this and used it? You have, great. So it's available on Apple devices and Android devices.
Is it available on Android now?
As of last week.
As of last week, it's available.
As of last week,
Yes,
so it's
so-
available. It has only been available on Apple up until last week. Now it's on Android also. We would recommend that, you all download it. It's a very useful tool.
I have one.
And all you have to do is read on your, click on the reader and it'll download automatically. Thank you so much, Brian. We really appreciate your time and all of the information that you've given us. And we'll move on to our next presentation. All right, our next presentation, Paula, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, great. So you want to explain, Paula Tirado from the Air and Toxic, she's an Air and Toxic Policy Analyst for Physicians for Social Responsibility, Los Angeles. Thank you so much, we appreciate you. And anyone else that wants to present, please just let us know. We encourage it. We really can learn from you, so Paula, you're on.
Thank you. Yes, thanks. So this is a presentation about the work that Physicians for Social Responsibility is doing in regards to air quality in South Central LA, Los Angeles. And this is a grant that was funded through the AB 617 initiative and program, and it's one of the community air protection grants in LA. But South Central LA was not selected as one of the one-year round communities. So this initiative is in collaboration with different partners, but the project is called South Central LA Project to Understand Sources of Air Pollution and Health Impacts, SCLA PUSH. So it's led by Physicians for Social Responsibility, which is an organization that advocates for policies and practices to improve public health and eliminate any environmental hazards and threats and health inequalities. It is also in collaboration with other community organizations, based organization partners, such as Community Health Councils, which is in South Central LA based, and it's a community-based health policy and systems change organization, and they have a large membership in South Central LA, Los Angeles. And then there's also SCOPE, which stands for Strategic Concepts in Organizing and Policy Education. They build grassroots to create social and economic change. They focus on environmental justice and immigrants and different programs. So they have a large base of membership, again, in South Central. We do have other partners, academic partners, Jill Johnston from the University of Southern California. She is focusing on helping us develop a community air monitoring program to implement in South Central LA. She has large experience with building community air monitoring around the Jefferson area where the oil fields are located. And Bhavna, she is an associate professor of the urban and environmental policy at Occidental College. So her part in this project will be focused on looking at cumulative burden in South Central LA and how these factors also are impacted by air pollution and vice versa. And our last partners are Omar Ureta. He is our designer, he's our communications consultant and GIS consultant. So he's helping us build a interactive hazardous mapping tool for just South Central LA, which is built off of a tool that PSRLA created. It's called the 500 feet tool, and essentially it's the South Central LA community plan and the Southeast LA community plan, and it shows facilities that are around 500 feet of sensitive receptors, and it's built user-friendly so that communities can learn about which facilities are surrounding them. And our last partner is Dr. Peter Sensheimer from the University of California. He's our technology consultant, and he'll be helping us develop a report on alternative analysis of equipment that can be implemented in South Central LA for specific facilities, for the back-end bar, the best available control technology and best available retrofit technology, as well as other alternatives that are that are using something greener and healthier for the environment and for the community. So what's the problem? What are we talking about in South Central LA? So in South Central LA, this is kind of like a picture depicting the different areas that we're focusing on with this project with SCLA Push. We have narrowed it down to 3 areas. One is the Watts neighborhood, the other one is the Jefferson area where the oil fields are located, and the last one is the Slauson, Florence area where scope organizing area is, but it's also really close to the Alameda corridor where a lot of facilities are located. So the reason we selected these areas is because not only are they known to have a variety of sources and facilities near in these areas, but also they have a history of environmental justice work and really knowing what's up in these areas. So that's the problem. You will know this. There's like 3,000 children missing school, 1,090 people missing work because of children that have to miss a school. There's 8 people that have non-fatal heart attacks because of governmental failure to meet federal clean air standards for smoke or ozone and particulate matter. So what are the statistics for South Central LA? In South Central LA, there are 1,318 hazardous sites like auto body shops, dry cleaners, or others within 500 feet of 585 sensitive populations like schools, community centers, hospitals, etc. In 2010, the South Central LA area had one of the highest asthma emergency visits and hospitalization rates in the county. So that's the problem. So what is the AB 617 program? We all know about this. If you don't, AB 617 passed in 2017 and 10 communities were selected for either a community air monitoring program or a community emissions reduction program or both. And those are the communities that were selected. These communities are exposed to multiple sources, and some of the factors that are used to select these communities come from CalEnviro Screen and other tools of the top 10 communities that are most impacted by air pollution and other factors, as well as cumulative burdens, etc. But South Central LA was not selected. And one of the things that it's important to mention here is that South Central LA does not have a big facility, like a petroleum facility or just something that big, but it has a variety of a lot of sources of air pollution that are spread out in the community, which causes community burden, and it accumulates and it creates stressors in the community. So with AB 617, PSRLA, and our partners, we acknowledge that it's an opportunity to bring a space where we can collect information to also build the power that already exists in the community to improve health outcomes, but also is an opportunity to identify other problems along with the solutions. As we acknowledge that is an opportunity, we also understand that it comes with challenges. And those challenges are that historically, South Central LA is a community that has been neglected because of the different impacts of a variety of sources of air pollution. And with AB 617 as an opportunity, we've known and learned with the different communities that have been selected that is a program that focuses largely on over-monitoring when communities are ready to see emissions reductions and actual solutions in their community to create cleaner air and healthier communities. We also have seen that all other challenges is that it puts communities in competition because they all deserve to be selected for these programs, and it is a competition. As we have to prove with data, we have to prove that communities are ready when they have been ready for more than 20 years. And the last one is that it lacks a clear understanding of health data and metrics. If these programs were to fail the communities once again, then there is not a clear understanding of where the responsibility will fall as far as the California Air Resources Board or the air districts. So it's important to understand that to be very realistic about the solutions and the things that we're promising with this program, so that communities are not, we're not failing the communities. So that's, with that being said, so SCLA Push Initiative, we're pushing the AB 617 program to go beyond monitoring, to go beyond the challenges, so that communities that are empowered and ready to implement emissions reductions and to clean the air can be part of the program, but also can go beyond the program. So again, it's a collaborative. We're working with academics. We're also working directly with the residents to inform our own initiative, but also to prepare them to be aware of the program and to be aware of the different advocacy spaces. So these are our project goals. We are intending to strengthen our knowledge to identify the sources of air pollution in South Central LA. As I mentioned before, there are many. So we need to understand how to be aware of them and what we need to know about them. To engage in direct air data collection, community air monitoring, and ground truthing. And lastly, to facilitate an engagement in policy processes and in order to improve air quality. So this is our plan. This is how we're trying to do it. Step one, we are conducting informational sessions. The first one that we conducted was on May 18, and South Coast AQMD was present, tabling at that event. But during this event, we informed the community about the AB 617 program, the opportunities and the challenges that it brings, as well as how to get involved in the SCLA Push Initiative. And South Coast AQMD was there, as well as CARB, putting information about the nomination selection process and the AB 617 program. So we're intending to recruit community members through the info session so that they are part of our Air Quality Academy. This Air Quality Academy will have 3 rounds. As I mentioned before, we have 3 different community areas that are our targets for this Air Quality Academy. So those 3 rounds will be focused in those different areas. So the first one will be in Slauson, Florence, at the scope organizing area. So the intention of the Air Quality Academy is to train air quality experts so that they learn how to air monitor, how they learn how to understand the data, governmental data, find, and different sources, so that when it comes to time to advocate for cleaner air, there's a background understanding of what it means to them specifically, as far as health and community health. And the last step is ground truthing. So ground truthing is a community activity that is essentially taking data like fine or taking data of facilities that are within 500 feet of sensitive receptors and walking in the community and using community wisdom and community knowledge to do the truth and verify that those sources exist, that they have the right name, the right permit, to verify if they have the right equipment, and if the permit says it has an incinerator but they don't have it, then the community members can know that through ground truthing. So this piece will be focused on air pollution. So we will walk around the auto body shops, we'll check if there's any noises, smells that are not familiar to the community. And then the last piece will be the engagement piece, where we want to engage with different information sessions that South Coast AQMD is putting so that we can push for South Central LA to not only be selected, but also for emissions reductions in the communities that are already part of the program. So this is the Air Quality Academy, and as I mentioned before, the first Air Quality Academy will be in Scope, organizing area. And so the first activity will be around learning air quality, the sources of air pollution, health impacts, and the regulatory framework, the history of it, going back to the Clean Air Act and why is it that we have a Clean Air Act, so that we can get ready for gathering data, doing air quality monitoring around the areas. So So as I mentioned, we are getting ready to do different activities in South Central LA. We had our first info session, which was very, very well attended. We had over 80 community members that are ready to go, that want to do not only community air monitoring, but want to know how to reduce emissions in their community. So we're looking to partner with South Coast AQMD and with the California Air Resources Board to bring more information, but also to address the concerns of the community from a ground-up approach. So the different activities that are coming, we are going to have another info session in September 2019. We don't have a date yet set for that, but the Air Quality Academy is coming. We set it for June 27th and June 29th. And in this space, we're hoping to mobilize the community members to push for the selection process, to push for South Central LA to be selected. So we're looking to build bridges, we're looking to understand the opportunities and understand the challenges and be very realistic about the solutions that we're putting out front for the communities that have been historically overburdened by air pollution and neglected by programs such as AB 617. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Any questions?
What type of monitors are you?
Yeah, so we're doing two, for the community monitoring, we're doing two. It's the handheld air monitors, the air beams. We're also using stationary monitors, portable air monitors. Additionally to that, we're doing VOC's air monitoring for the auto body shops and the dry cleaners. And that's a more complex air monitor. I can't remember its name. I think it's stationary too, but it's for VOCs too.
Have you been getting pushback from businesses who know that you're doing this?
I don't think so. I don't think we've.
Or is it not like been publicly out there as much?
I don't think we're publicly out there as much. I will say that, for example, for the dry cleaners, it's an interesting conversation because dry cleaners are largely known to be moms and pops shops. So they are very interested in knowing how they can still have their business but not be exposed to a harmful chemical like perchloroethylene. So they're wanting to change to wet cleaning, which is a safer alternative. So there is that conversation about how safer alternatives can be in place, while economic development can also be part of the whole conversation.
Paula, just FYI, we have a $10,000 incentive for dry cleaners to make that change.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, because I know the Air Quality Management District has programs where to upgrade your, like a lawnmower or something at least, something small for mom and pop shop is something good.
Yes, yeah. That's definitely something that we want to do to also include the just transition piece of it, creating green jobs with a framework that we still want to create jobs, but at the same time clean the air.
I noticed you folks are using South Central LA. Is that intentional? Because there's been a move to move away from that.
I was going to ask the same question. Thank you.
If it's intentional?
I assume it's intentional.
Yeah, because PSRLA has been working with South Central LA for many, many years. So it's a community that PSRLA represents, that our allies represent, that are really close to other efforts that we're doing. So it was very intentional to work with this community.
Sorry, I meant the name.
Yes, the name.
Yes, South Central was sort of, the city sort of decided we're not going,
Sorry, yes, because of the community plans. So like there's the Southeast LA community plan and the South Los Angeles plan.
Okay.
And so we didn't want to confuse the communities by now. Yes.
Thank you.
Just know you might get some of that pushback because we've been told not to use that because it's very derogatory and negative toward that community, South LA. So we've been told for years to move away from using that South Central. It's South LA now. It's South LA. When you said, and when I saw South Central, I said, well, it must be something to the acronym or something. It must rhyme or something, and that's why they're using
So the
it.
negative connotation of South Central,
Yes.
Yeah.
people are staying away from that, but I think the intention obviously.
Oh, I
here
understand
is
what they're
not right.
saying now, yeah.
But, and I think too, with your scope is so much bigger, you have such a bigger footprint. So who knows?
It's LA, but I mean,
Yeah.
I live in South LA.
Right.
I was glad when they took away South Central, because people tend to think of that movie and we're all
Which
gangsters.
movie?
You know, and we're all gangsters, so, you know, I understood that, so I thank you for asking that, I was gonna ask that same question. And thank you for clarifying the East and,
Yeah, it's
you know.
both community plans, so it made sense to put them together.
And that's an interesting point that you made regarding economic development, jobs, technology, sustainability, because you're absolutely right, there has to be that balance. Everybody has to work together. And a lot of the times with the mom and pops, like you know, we'll just pick the dry cleaners, as you mentioned, they just don't know what they don't know. So they want to stay in business, they don't want to pollute, but they don't know, because also Edison, the gas company, AQMD, there are a whole myriad of agencies that offer incentives and discounts. So even having that discussion is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we do major outreach, but a lot of the moms and pops, we can't reach, you know, it's just almost impossible. So word of mouth, any kind of way we can get that information out there is invaluable to both them and us and all of us at the end of the day. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I just do want to mention too, Paula's presentation. So I know she and I were talking about how today there is a community identification meeting where AB 617 staff will be in Huntington Park, just giving background information on the program. So I have some flyers here, and you can go to the website and get more information on other meeting dates and or on today's meeting as well. So we'll pass this around. Pass that way.
That's interesting, the concept of communities feeling like they have to compete. That's really a shame. I guess it does kind of, you feel that way, but there's just so many communities. I think we identified over 52, or was it 80 something? It was a lot of communities that we turned into a carve to choose from. So it's really difficult, but no, thank you for that. I wanted to go to that academy. I think I want to try to make that the 27th and 28th. Yeah, that would be good, just to kind of, so that we can spread the word about what you guys are doing too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have it's not a question, but just a comment. Thank you for your presentation, Paula. It was incredible to hear what the work that you all are doing, and similar to what's happening and what you just said right now. In San Bernardino as well, there has been a sentiment of competition among communities of color, and that's just a reality of it, because air travels. And the way that these industries are hurting our families is not just exclusive to the identified area in San Bernardino as the one that we're working with under AB 617. And so that is an ongoing problem. And I hope that as we move forward and continue to discuss the way that AB 617 is structured, that we can identify ways to close that gap, so that we're not having community feel that they're being chosen, some are better than others.
No, I'm glad that came out.
It's a real issue.
You think about it, but not as a serious issue with the communities, just in them trying to get themselves identified. But I could see that sense of competition. I want to be first. My community is even worse in my idea, than yours. So why wasn't I chose, what were we chosen? Wish they were all chosen at one time, but then we'd be crazy trying to do all these communities at one time. Capacity will eventually reach there though. Thank you. That was very informative. Very informative. I think next on the agenda is, are there any other questions or comments? Are we good on that one? Is Alicia, she's going to do a presentation on advisory council and EJCP updates.
So I'll make it quick, but I do want to preface the presentation with that the advisory council started all under the Environmental Justice Community Partnership Program. So I think we want to make a better effort of presenting information on the other programs under this umbrella. So that's kind of the background on this presentation. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know. We're always striving to make it better. So the first one I want to start with is I gave you some background information last time, and hopefully the programs will become more familiar to you as time goes on. But the first one, we just launched this one. It's called the Clean Air Ranger Education Program. And we go into elementary schools and we give background information to elementary school students because we found that, you know, elementary school students, junior high students, they're really unaware of air pollution, the health effects, and also, you know, we're starting to see more wildfires and things like that. So we want to make the kids aware of these types of issues. So we went to Valencia Academy of the Arts in Pico Rivera, and then we went to Honey Hollow Elementary School in Moreno Valley. And we met with second and third graders, almost 400 students. And it was great because we were also able to stay for like lunch. So we were able to pretty much meet all of the children. They were super excited to be there. And it was great. They all got giveaways. So at the previous meeting, I think it was Nicole requested some data on the program, and that was excellent. So we have information on the Pico Rivera School. These are based on the surveys from all second and third grade teachers at Valencia Academy of the Arts. And so overall, the teachers thought the information was great. There's 4.75 for my students learned ways that they can keep the air clean. And so also 4.75 for the presentation was interactive for second and third graders. We're going to be piloting fourth and fifth grade next to see what works better. And obviously fourth and fifth graders may retain more information, but it's great because if you look to the left, there's a drawing that we had all the students go after and kind of state what they learned. And it was so cute. And, you know, the students actually learned something. So we thought it was very beneficial.
Paula, you might really, well, all of you will appreciate this impact. We explained air pollution health effects. And then we asked the kids how many folk, you know, they knew either had asthma in their family, knew, you know, about asthma. 75% of the kids raised their hand. And these are second and third graders that are aware of asthma, are associated with asthma, contacted with asthma.
They already knew what asthma was.
And they already knew what it was. So that's really, I mean, that says a lot about our air. Also, the reason why we want to pilot fourth and fifth graders, we're going to be doing a high school program in 1920, the school year 1920. Fourth and fifth graders is kind of like a natural segue into the high school program. It's not such a long leap in between them getting an introduction to air quality and second and third grade, and then not saying it again into high school. So that's another reason. And then we had a principal tell us that he thought maybe fourth, fifth graders might be a little bit more interactive, might retain the information more.
Yeah.
So it's pilot, but it's fun. And those kids.
If you have any recommendations for, we haven't confirmed Orange County, but we're working with Oscar. And for San Bernardino, I know we've been emailing with Nicole. But if you have any suggestions for the 2020 school year, please see me after or send me an email so we can start compiling a list of schools. That'd be really helpful.
So are you targeting specific schools or just all schools?
Schools in EJ areas and all 4 counties. We have to hit all 4 counties.
And we're hoping, based on the results from the surveys and the feedback that we get, we're trying to see, you know, how large do we want to make this program, what's feasible, and so forth. So there's a possibility that we can really expand this for 2020.
We can bring school board members together from those areas in a meeting where we can bring AQMD.
That would be really helpful because from the school districts, we need permission. We also leave the kids with the air quality flags. And the Lee Andrews group developed really cute little sayings that are on the same lines as the EPA, but kid-friendly, so to speak. So we leave the kids with the flags, but we have to have permission from the school districts, am I correct, in order to leave the flags. So, you know, any opportunity we have to dialogue with school officials would be helpful, help pave the way. So, yeah, let's do that.
We'll take note of that. Thank you. And then we also have the EJ Interagency Task Force. Right now, we're focused on LA County and working to better coordinate with other agencies on environmental complaints. So, for example, we've heard, you know, some issues from residents where they call in and then they don't hear back, or they call in and maybe they weren't aware that their complaint was for another agency, and so it gets lost in the system. And so we're working with other agencies to better streamline that process. And so we've only had our first meeting. We have our second meeting next Wednesday. There is room for, we want more community and residents involved. So again, if you're interested or if you have any recommendations, please let us know. But some of the things that came out of the first meeting was to adopt, or change the language for complaint as we're marketing, or not marketing, but we're sending out outreach to the community. Complaint has a negative connotation for a lot of folks. So we're trying to see what we can do with that and explore that further. Implement environmental agency staff training for different agencies to explain what other agencies do so that they can better coordinate when they get a call and provide better service. Expand and distribute an interagency referral directory that would be useful for the community, organizations, and even to other agencies on what everyone else does and how they can coordinate. And then lastly, improve.
I'm sorry, can I ask about that, or should I wait until the
Yeah.
end? So I'm not entirely clear on this one. What agencies are involved?
So we have, I don't have the list in front of you, but LA Sanitation, Public Health, we have.
I'm blanking. We have about 20 agencies. There are DTSC. Yeah, they're there.
Water.
The water board.
Yeah, the water board. We can provide a list.
Yeah, we can get you a list.
And the idea is that when complaints regarding any of the things that are in these agencies' domain come in, they don't always get to the right agency.
Or they get, we don't handle that, sorry, goodbye.
Got it.
Instead of a referral to the appropriate agency. And a lot of these calls, some of these calls could even be handled with a referral book in the beginning, so yeah, to kind of streamline and make it easier. And that's why we need the community members on board, because they're the ones calling in. And they're the ones that's getting the no return calls, or the return calls but no follow through or what have you.
Okay.
So one thing that we found is that when someone makes a call, a lot of the staff is only responsible for providing that complaint to the agency, but not on referral. So, we're not tracking on how many times did you refer out to another agency. So we're looking at metrics like that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then improve communication with the public. That can look a lot of different ways, but we're exploring that a little bit further, whether it's workshops. So we'll be deciding that at the upcoming meetings. And so the next meeting is next Wednesday, as I said, at LA Sanitation. So if you are, again, I'm going to pitch it. If you're interested in joining, or you know of an agency or a community member that's very interested in being a part of something like this, please let us know.
Or if you want to come by and check it out,
yeah,
please come by. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we're hoping to develop that staff training either late this year or early next year. So we're working diligently on that. And then also we have our 5th annual Environmental Justice Conference. And so I have the flyer right over here. We're currently in the process of planning it, but please mark your calendars. It's for September 12th from 8:30 to 1 p.m. It's a half-day conference. And this year, the title is Building Alliances and Progressive Solutions. One, not criticism, but critique that we've gotten in the past is, how are you including the community? What is their involvement in this? So this year, we decided to we have breakout sessions. And so we want to dedicate a breakout session to community members that want to share an environmental justice project, just like Followup shared today of your project, something like that they can share with the community on what they're doing, or a project that's already been implemented. So hopefully by the end of this week or early next week, we're going to be sending out the call for proposals. So you'll have the opportunity to apply and share with the community on what you're doing. And we're hoping to have our Environmental Justice Advisory Group next month essentially rate all of the applications and decide on who gets selected. I think we might select 2, but it may go up to 4 since there'll be 2 breakout sessions. We may, depending on the number of applications that we receive, make it larger. So one of the things that we did want to bring to everyone, and just, I'll go over the breakout sessions, but one of the questions that I did want to pose to everyone is, how can we get more community members and residents and organizations involved with the conference? Or how can we reach out to more folks? Does anyone have any ideas?
Can you repeat that question?
So how can we do better engagement with the communities on this event? So how can we really, bring more community members? So one idea that we had was providing a shuttle from each of the communities. And I know, you're out in Coachella, so we're, maybe from Riverside, San Bernardino, since it's in LA, we could see transportation being an issue. But if you have any other ideas on how we can better outreach to the community, let us know. Or if you want to throw any ideas out there, just let us know.
And just to let you know, we've tried both weekdays and on a Saturday to see if that was, and we got, we'd rather have it on a Saturday because then we don't have to take off. And we did it on a Saturday and but I had to give my Saturday up. I would have rather had it on a weekday when I could have came through the regular work day. Some people can't get off from work, so that's why we wanted to try it on a Saturday. I think we had less attendance on Saturday than we did on through the week. So that's one thing that we did try. But any other suggestions? We're certainly open to it. We typically have about 300. But some of the topics and speakers that we've had, we just want to get it out to more people. We don't charge, so we're not making any money off of it. That's not the case. We just want to get the information out there.
Do we have Spanish translation to those?
Yes.
Everything is translated.
Is there capacity to offer like childcare?
It's a liability issue. And the reason why I say that is for our AB 617 meetings, we delved into that because it's in the evening and it's community, and we wanted to offer that for folk. We're bringing, Jill Johnston brings her daughters, and we did want to offer that for people, but it became a huge liability issue. Now, I was just in Sacramento not too long ago, and I believe it's the Bay Area they contracted out to a community group. The community group actually does the child care, but they worked it into their contract where they're still paid out of the AB 617 money, but the community contracts it, so therefore they had a liability. We're such a large organization, and they think we have such deep pockets. I would love to do it. So what we've done is we've done kids corners where we provided coloring books and things like that to kind of keep them occupied. But then again, the parents are still up trying to check on them and stuff. We'd love to have childcare. We would love to have that. Can we explore that some more?
Yes. We can look into it, but there are a lot of regulatory requirements that are imposed when you start offering officially, especially as a government agency, childcare. So I sincerely doubt it would fly.
And contracting it out like the Bay Area wouldn't work.
Can we look at that?
We can always look at that.
Yeah, we can look at that.
And we could coordinate
because
with
that's
the Bay Area and see how they do it.
Something that I think would be attractive, childcare providers.
Her contact.
So we should,
that would be great. Yeah, we should do that. See how they do it.
Maybe another thing is to ensure that whatever language in the flyers is culturally appropriate, and that, again, whatever presentations are part of this are culturally appropriate, and that it's for the community if you're making it so that it is for the community.
Thank you.
Translation, we provide translation, Spanish translation at every meeting. We've had over 50 AB 617 meetings. And I gotta tell you guys, we spend close to $2,000 each time, and we average 1 to 2 headsets each meeting. Some, none. Most, none at all. We were asked to do Tagalog, we did that, and nobody used those headsets, so we spent $2,500 for that. But we will continue to do it because if there's one person that needs it, it's worth it to me.
I have a comment on that. So in San Bernardino, as an example, the AB 617 group that we have, the steering committee, I stepped out for a minute. That's what we're talking about, right? Right now, the translation?
Yeah.
Okay. The translation is absolutely horrible. I'm fluent in Spanish, it's my first language. Professionally and culturally, I speak it and write it. And I'm often having to debrief and translate myself immediately after. sometimes during, and I try to be as polite as possible, given that I'm assuming they're being paid and they're professionals.
Yes.
So the translation is not understood and it's not culturally appropriate. I'm not saying you have to hire someone that's necessarily from Mexican descent, given that the majority of the members that we have speak Spanish from Mexican descent. But it's not even appropriate for the information that's being shared within AB 617. Even just saying, good morning, my name is, and I'm here to talk today about this, it's choppy and it's not being effectively translated.
Have
So that
you
is
mentioned this
a problem.
before to the?
I mentioned it to Joe Kay and I mentioned it to Pedro Piqueras, who we work closely with.
Oh, yeah, you do.
And I'm hoping that that could be taken care of immediately, because that's not my job to translate, yet I'm doing it.
Not at all is it your job, and we pay them very well
So
to
hearing
do
that is
correct
concerning to
translation.
me.
Thank you for that information. That's the kind of feedback we really need.
And I think that's what I meant by
Thank you.
culturally appropriate.
Yeah, no, we really need, so thank you so much for that.
What were you saying? It's terrible
No,
translation.
that's what I meant by culturally appropriate, because it is a problem, and it's not only in Spanish, but it's also in English. Like the terms, the terminology, the concepts,
Absolutely.
the way it's presented. It's important that if you do have a layout, an outline, you contact a community-based organization from that place and say, can I run down this language with you, make sure that this is what your community is.
That's an excellent
Contractors-
idea,
There's
yeah.
contractors that community groups work with, and they already know the language, and they already know the people. So
Do you mean for
that-
translation?
Yes.
So maybe
I just
after
need to
the
say
meeting,
it-
we can connect on that for
Can
sure.
you please?
I just need to say that it's called interpretation, when
Not
you're-
translation,
Yeah,
yeah. Didn't we change
that
that?
really-
I think we changed that.
Okay.
Didn't we? I think we
I
changed that.
think
Yeah,
we
because
were
you're
all-
right.
We're all talking about translation.
But it's not, it's
interpretation.
interpretation.
Yes, it's interpretation.
You're right, you're right. No,
Yeah.
I think we
And there
changed
are a
that,
few
yeah.
groups that I could recommend that we've worked with in
We would this
Yeah.
is invaluable, thank you.
Yeah.
No, this is invaluable, because if we're not
This is
doing it
exactly
right,
why
we're
we're
not
here.
doing it, as far as
We're
I'm
not
concerned.
aware, we can't fix it.
Yeah, we can't, yes, so no, this is invaluable, thank you, thank you.
Or also, another solution is to have, if you're gonna have different breakout groups, to have one's entirely in Spanish
Yeah.
and the other one's entirely in English.
So,
And then switch.
we tried that. And the ones that were only in Spanish felt like they were being segregated from the ones that were in English. We did try that.
No, that's why
Because
you
we
switch.
thought that would be good to have one Spanish speaking only. So now what we try to do is put a Spanish speaker at each booth. You see what I'm saying?
I think
Yeah.
aren't you saying something a little different?
No, what she's saying is to have a whole Spanish one, right?
Right, and then
Yeah,
switch.
but then you
And then
just,
switch, so that there's.
Oh, and well, we didn't do that.
are
We
you
didn't
saying
switch.
that
We
you
had-
have the same program offered in English and in Spanish? So what, do you think people would still feel segregated?
If they switch?
Yeah, so that they will have the opportunity to do everything. But
They're not
just-
missing anything.
They're not missing anything. No, the English and Spanish is the same. They're not missing
I
anything. It's just, we had just one Spanish, so for all just Spanish speakers only. Because we thought we were, helping them out. But then they felt like we were trying to segregate them from the
that
English
makes sense.
speakers,
Yeah,
and
you
we
can
couldn't
have
quite
an app.
close that gap, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we're not understood, there's no point, it's wasting their time and our time, so no, that's important, thank you. This whole meeting was important for just that alone, so thank you, no.
So to talk about the topics, at this year's conference, we're thinking, nothing has been solidified, this is all just in the works, so any feedback that you have would be great, but for the plenary session, with everyone, we're thinking about talking about community-focused strategies such as AB 617 and other programs that are out there. For the breakout sessions, we're thinking about having a session on citizen scientists and kind of resources that are out there for them. So I know I sat in on a session that they had for citizen scientists, and they talked about the resources such as there's everything from attorneys to information on what you can and can't do. For example, even when you're ground truthing and different things. So to educate them on other programs that have come out and what it is. A lot of folks aren't aware of that term and other things that are happening with that. Another one is climate change as it relates to air pollution. And then we're thinking about the other breakout session being the call for proposals for the community to share. We may include another breakout session as well. We're still in the works. I know one idea was there's that video out in Coachella. Might be a good opportunity for those students, so I will explore that a little bit further. But if you have any other suggestions or anything that you think would be better, we're interested. We still haven't published anything, and we're working on it.
Are there particular goals for this?
In terms of, we'll probably give out a survey afterwards to see how it was, but essentially it's to bring out the most relevant topics that we have at the moment. So I know AB 617 has been one thing that we've, been covering this year. Did you have a question?
Not a question, a suggestion. One of the things that is really important is to get the latest information on the available zero emission technology, so that's part of the solutions that community members are advocating for. And a lot of the times there's misinformation, so something related to zero emission available technologies may be great, not just in stating the problems, but what are the solutions?
Right.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the suggestions. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I want to go back to what you were saying. Do you have any suggestions on, did you mean by a survey, kind of seeing if we hit those metrics or just?
Why do you do the conference? What are you hoping to get out of it? That's what I mean.
So this is the 5th annual Environmental Justice Conference. Our goal as an agency is to bring together residents, environmental justice organizations, other agencies, bring everyone in the room and talk about these issues that are really pressing at hand, and see how to move forward with that. And also to, for example, provide an opportunity for other organizations to bring out their programs that are currently happening. One aspect that we've added to the program is a networking component, so that other folks can get to know each other. Especially, this is really great because it brings together folks from all 4 counties. So you get to see others that you may not see all the time. And again, we're trying to make it more inclusive of everyone. So that's really our goal. And any suggestions, we're really willing.
So is our goal to bring in people to teach them about environmental justice, like newcomers? Because what I found last time, the times that I've gone, is that it's really difficult to bring, hardworking, like low-wage Latino workers, because it's really hard for us to understand if this is the first time we've heard about it. It's just kind of, it just gets lost in translation. Yeah. So if we have, and I know that other parts of our Latino community are well-versed and understand, but the folks that I would bring don't.
Yeah.
So how do we make that connection? So for example, instead of hearing all these sometimes I get I don't know what they're saying, I know what it is, but I have no, is this geared towards attorneys and, only environmentalists, or are we trying to capture a group that will help us, broaden our, our base? Yeah. So if we do have an intention to do something like that, making it fun for people would be maybe having a theater kind of, or this is, I don't know, so for example, we capture our people's minds with, theatrics sometimes, or, having presentations that people can grasp and understand,
That would be really important. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that always happens. You always get maybe, a resident that has no idea maybe someone brought them with them and, they haven't been there, and then we get someone who's super active. So we do, definitely our goal for this conference is to bring everything to a level where everyone can understand what is being talked about. And that's something that we're gonna have to work diligently on. But that's definitely the goal, and we'll definitely make that. That's why I really like the film from Coachella, where it breaks down air pollution and really defines the struggle of environmental justice communities. So we may go with that one, but
the conference, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The conference kind of developed out of, in the beginning we did 4 workshops. And we kind of ended the year of these 4 workshops by doing a conference to kind of gather together the information that we had did for the 4 workshops. It's grown since then. I'm loving this conversation because I think with you guys' help, we can grow it even more and make it more accessible and more open to more people that need this information, because that's the whole purpose, is to get the information out there. And to the folks that most need it. That's been something that I found when I've only been here 2.5 years. I come from Senator Kevin De Leon's office, so I was on the other side of the regulatory force. And to know and to find out that there's so much, and I'm just, and I don't mean it negatively, but there's so much ignorance in our communities about what we're breathing and what's causing it and what we can do about it, and the lack of knowledge of what we can do about it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say real quick about this term citizen science. If you could change it to community science so that it's inclusive of everybody. And
That's a great
That's a
point.
good one, yeah.
And then the other thing is that this is an environmental justice conference, which is making it, the center of it is environmental justice communities, frontline communities. And it seems that that gets lost. So this needs to be developed in collaboration with environmental justice communities and environmental justice advocates. If the purpose is to bring people together to talk, that seems very vague and not positive. And sometimes what happens is that we are having community meetings and steering committees and CAPs and all of that, and we're all talking. But when it's not centered in environmental justice, which they do know what they are living, the lived experiences of the communities and frontline communities that have been exposed to air pollution for many, many years, they know what's up, right? And when someone comes and say, you don't know what's up, that's not okay, right? So that, and even if they do know or don't know, it's better, it's no, not better. It's the center of it should be developed with environmental justice communities. And the way to do that is to go to community-based organizations that are working directly with the frontline communities so that it's represented.
CBOs?
Yes, CBOs.
That's good for us to know.
CBOs that look at the goals, the outcomes, the presentations, who's presenting, is it well represented by frontline communities? Do we have Latinos, people of color, etc.? So it's environmental justice center, right? So I think the way to do that in the breakout groups is to find like goals for all of them. So if you're doing community science is so big.
It is.
So if it's narrowed to a specific solution, community-driven solutions, then it makes it not only more appealing, but it is also, it ends in a positive note and an exciting note where you want communities to be at, right? So if the framework of all this is, there's issues, there's problems, but there are solutions, and there's a transition to cleaner and healthier communities, and we can do that in partnerships with not only the agencies, but the communities, then that's a more positive end of the conference. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Thank you. And I think I lost my presentation.
Yeah.
I think the rest of my presentation was the next meeting is on Wednesday, September 4th. And then you all have my contact information if you don't have cards here. And
Well, that was a great discussion. Great discussion. I think that was it on our presentations. Any public comment? No public comment. God, I hate to cut off the discussion. It was so good. We were getting such good stuff. If there's no other questions or comments, that's the end of the meeting. Is any other questions or comments? Any other, did we do member updates?
no, we haven't.
Yeah, member updates, we go around the room and everybody can tell what's happening in their community, an event that they want to talk about. It's a member update, so to speak. So we'll start with you, Nicole.
Well, I'm Nicole Starks-Murray, and we already did introductions, but so many things over in San Bernardino. We are working right now on a poverty symposium We are creating opportunities for the community to come together and speak about health, well-being, and issues that impact communities surrounding the San Bernardino County. And we are just in the planning session of looking at putting together simulations of what people in communities actually experience in trying to get services and trying to advocate for services and trying to understand, where they stand right, where their rights are, and getting access to services. So we're in the starting stages of it. I believe we're looking somewhere in September, October-ish to put this symposium on. It's going to be at Cal State, San Bernardino, and more to come. But we are really interested in and constantly interested in what the needs of the community are and what those drivers are of poverty, and how do we create opportunities for health and well-being for them. So we are doing that. I did send you the information for Ms. Hill so that you can get connected with the care program, but I just needed some additional information. Other than that, we just ended an uncorked fundraiser that we did, and I didn't get a chance to get it here in time enough for you all to possibly participate. But again, we have a food bank, and just raising resources and funds to ensure that we could. Another driver of poverty is food deserts. So we are making sure that we are pliable and sustainable so that we can provide those kind of commodities out into the community. So
Please email us the info.
I will.
Yeah, you
I
don't have
will.
to bring it, you can email it.
I will. Okay. And that's it.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. So the mayors of LA and Long Beach set a goal to have zero emissions trucks by 100% by 2035. But there hasn't been a clear show of how, like benchmarks or milestones of how that is going to be done. So a group that I'm a part of called the Impact Project, that means Trade, Health, and Environment, is worked on a letter to the mayors to ask for more benchmarks and how are we going to get there. And then we're also working with the Luskin School to publish some work around what are zero emission technologies available to inform some of the decisions that are happening at the ports. And we're also going to be working, this is more nationally, the Union of Concerned Scientists is going to be coming out with a report on zero emission trucks and technologies that are available, the feasibility, and all of that. So we're going to have webinars and some information around that. I don't know exactly when it will be published, but I can bring back information and that report.
Okay, great. That would be great.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
So I already mentioned the SCLA Push Initiative, coming up with another info session, and the Air Quality Academy by the end of June. So that's for SCLA Push. For other areas of Physicians for Social Responsibility, LEAP LA is a coalition of organizations, grassroots organizations, that it's looking at the Just Transition framework and how that can be implemented in LA. So we've got an addendum that was presented to City Council and the Mayor, and it's essentially to form a climate emergency department, and it got approved to $400 million, I think, to form not a department but an office of climate emergency. And within this money, there's Just Transition initiatives like the dry cleaners, beauty salons that are exchanging toxic products for healthier products, among other initiatives. So that's something that's happening right now, and LEAP LA is mobilizing so that we can put pressure on the city council so that it gets approved. And Stand LA Stedele is also another coalition that is fighting neighborhood oil drilling. They're doing a mobilization to put pressure on the Jefferson side, which just recently was selected for a cleanup and a closure. So that's a win for the coalition. And they're working on the different sides, Inglewood and the Baldwin Hills. So that's happening too. And we're also doing water work with the organizations in Southeast LA. So there's going to be a water symposium coming up at the end of July, talking about water supply and the metals industry and how they can partner together to ensure that there's no lead levels in the water.
So Leadership Council hosted a community workshop in the Eastern Coachella Valley in early May. And it was held in partnership with the Air Resources Board and the Local Governments Commission to talk to community residents about the low carbon transportation incentive program. And so we were able to provide information about rebate programs for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, but also incentives for rideshare programs. And I think that was something that really captivated the communities that we work with in the Eastern Coachella Valley. They prefer to see more communal and better transit opportunities that everybody can benefit from. And so from that workshop and from our partnerships with the Air Resources Board and the local government commissions, we found an opportunity that will probably come up later this year to apply for a rideshare program for the Eastern Coachella Valley. Transit in the area is just not very dependable and it's not very good, and we want residents to be able to use transit a lot more, and right now that's not really feasible. And another thing that I want to talk about is the Transformative Climate Communities program that we're working on for the entire Eastern Coachella Valley. The grant period is coming to an end this summer, and so right now we're drafting the final plan, and it includes different projects like affordable housing, better transit opportunities, active transportation infrastructure, but also water and wastewater infrastructure and paving for mobile home parks in the area. And so once that plan is complete, we'll be able to use it to apply for implementation funds. But currently the Transformative Climate Communities program, it doesn't provide implementation funds to unincorporated communities. And so one of the policies that Leadership Council is sponsoring this year is SB 351, which will then allow or require the Strategic Growth Council to provide implementation funding to unincorporated regions and communities. And we're also working on a few other policies that are related to drinking water. One of them is AB 217, SB 200, but the governor has also included this proposal in the state budget. And so there's quite a few opportunities to make sure that disadvantaged communities throughout the state have access to safe and affordable drinking water. And so next week we'll be traveling to Sacramento with a few residents from the Eastern Coachella Valley to advocate and lobby for a safe and affordable drinking water.
Good. All right, thank you. Yeah, and just a small update from me. Last meeting, I mentioned that the Southern California Regional Energy Network just launched a program called Pathway to Zero. So this program works to provide public agencies and facilities that are located within Cal-Enviro Screen designated disadvantaged communities with not just information or services related to energy efficiency, but looking beyond efficiency into all of the other opportunities to create essentially a pathway to zero emissions at these facilities that are located within environmental justice communities. So we are still always looking for new agency enrollments that could benefit from these services. Essentially what we do is we provide them with overviews of solar, demand response, water efficiency, various opportunities for these agencies, and the associated incentive programs that are offered through a myriad of organizations like South Coast Air Quality Management District, like the utilities. But if anyone has sort of we definitely could be missing some, so if anyone knows of any sort of incentive programs for anything related to zero net energy, any sort of technologies, that would be really great to learn more about those. And just one other update in my personal capacity as an Irvine resident. I just got an email that the Irvine Community Choice Energy Study is complete and will be presented at City Hall in Irvine on June 24th, which is really exciting, and this has been a long time coming. It's something that the UCI community and the greater Orange County community has been working towards for a really long time.
Great, thank you.
Hi. To start off with, and I'm not really wearing my NCSA hat when I see these couple of things, but one of our board members, Lorraine Lundquist, as of last night, is going to be in the runoff for a city council. So I am super, super excited because she's very, very progressive on the environment. This is her main issue. And on a related note, I'm co-hosting a fundraiser for Aura Vasquez, who used to be a Department of Water and Power commissioner who's running for Council District 10 in LA. So for me personally, this is a game changer because I'm probably gonna actually know these people, That's gonna be, I know some people now, but now I'll really know them. So this is gonna be a game changer for me and very exciting. And we're continuing to try to work with, NCSA is continuing to try to work with the Department of Water and Power to move forward on cleaner energy faster than I think they want to. So that's to be continued. A few other things. Our next event is going to be on how to work best with developers, because the neighborhood council system, most of you probably don't know, developers often make proposals to neighborhood councils about their buildings. They're rarely asked by neighborhood councils about how to build sustainably. So this is something I think we think is a huge opportunity to push forward on the environmental issues. A couple other things super quickly. We're always interested in leaf blowing, and I don't know if that might be something you would talk about at your forum, because I think we really need to engage with the people who are using the leaf blowers and the people who are paying the people who are using the leaf blowers better than we have. Speaking of the Green New Deal, I think that's a great point on the emissions thing, and maybe we should get involved in that. I'm working with folks in WAPS who are trying to figure out how to move forward on diesel emissions, and I think connecting with Garcetti's Green New Deal would be great. And lastly, I think I won't say AQMD, South Coast AQMD or SCAQMD is peripherally involved with the Aliso Canyon issue, if I understand. I think there was some sort of hearing on the Title V permit renewal. And
there was a community information meeting, yeah.
Thank you. So, of course, the people we work with really just want all of that to go away, and I don't think that's quite in your decision to make, but, okay, well, there you go.
I was at the meeting. We got yelled at for 2 hours.
Yeah, so.
Straight.
So there we go.
Yeah. It's hard.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be really brief. We do a ton of work beyond AQMD and beyond AB 617, of course, but related to this board specifically. We are working closely to develop the community tour that's going to be placed with the steering committee within AB 617. I'm actually really excited because within CCAJ, we lead community tours. We call them Toxic and Solutions Tours. But I think this is one of the first times where we have industry co-leading along with us. And I sense that, I hope that they're a little afraid.
They are.
Given that our community's voices are really strong and powerful. And this is a vehicle for us to not only expose what the issues are, but really highlight the solutions that we want to see. And tentatively, this tour will take place on June 27th. It is not open to everyone, unless you're a steering committee member or direct community member linked to the work that we're doing out there in the areas identified. But I look forward to updating this board as that tour takes place and share what went well and what areas we could work on to improve. Specifically, sitting at a table with industry. During the conversations, I know the public, maybe perhaps some of you have watched some of our steering committee meetings, there's a lot of pushback, which has been expected from us. But our community is resilient, and so I think this tour is really going to, again, shed the light onto what the real issues are from the community's angle, not so much the industry, which I think oftentimes AQMD hears a lot from their lobbyists, right? So I'm excited. June 27th.
That's great. The tours are invaluable. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, God, I've read about it, you told me about it, but it takes seeing it. It takes being there when those trucks are coming off that freeway and right over the truck you're looking at the refinery and there's an apartment building right there. So, you know, it really takes seeing that, so that tour should be great.
Yeah, thank you.
San Bernardino, you guys got it going on.
We do, we
really do.
Country miles, but we do gotta go.
No. We often said if we could take your steering committee as a model and take it to, or if we could take everybody to your steering committee. Because you do push back, but you push back righteously. And it's great the way that you guys have come together as a community. And you're working it, you're doing it. We love coming out there. No, we don't. We don't like that drive. But we love coming out there for the steering committee because you're together. Do you guys still meet before?
We have, yes, we meet prior. We have internal meetings with all the other steering committee members from the community.
Yeah.
And we debrief and we go over the agenda together. And you know, a lot of the language in the agenda is really dense. Our community is very smart, but when you don't grow up listening to certain words or listening to certain structures of the way things are ran, it can be very intimidating. So that those meetings really are helpful to remind the community that they're the experts and others can learn from them. And so by the time they come back to the meeting, the actual meeting, they're bringing really the fire.
I love it. They are. I love it.
Training takes place prior.
No, we really enjoy it. We enjoy it. No, it's really good. It's what it should be. It's what AB 617 was intended to do. Yeah, so no, it's great. Any other comments or?
And welcome, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I know I missed the last meeting, but I'm happy to be here today and learn from everyone.
Sitting over here in the corner, trying not to be recognized, is our environmental justice manager, Denise Gailey. Denise is new to the district. Been here, 3 months now?
About 5 months.
Stop!
Yeah.
Really?
Time flies when you're having
12
fun.
to 5 months.
Okay, I'll accept that one. Wow. Well, she is the manager, so she's here learning. She comes from water. We were talking about water. There's some issues that they're doing with water. There's issues with water. But we're glad to have Denise on board, so you'll be seeing her more and more. Okay. And with that, if there's no other questions or comments, we will adjourn. All right, thank you all. Make sure you fill out your expense papers, sheets, or whatever these things are called.